The frozen assassination. Picture this. It's a hot spring afternoon in 1963 Havana. The streets are alive with color. Vintage cars rolling past Colonial buildings painted in coral and yellow. In the distance, the Havana Libre Hotel rises against the Mediterranean blue sky. Two CIA agents slip through the entrance. Dark suits, sunglasses, expressions cold as ice. Their mission? Sneak into the hotel cafeteria kitchen, find the industrial freezer, and slip a poison pill into Fidel Castro's chocolate milkshake. Why target a milkshake? Because Fidel Castro had a legendary sweet tooth. Stories say he would devour up to 18 scoops of ice cream after lunch. 18 scoops! The man was unstoppable when it came to frozen desserts. So there he sits, at his dining table, facing a towering mountain of ice cream. Vanilla, chocolate, strawberry, every flavor imaginable piled high. A chocolate milkshake sits nearby. His face shows pure joy, complete contentment, blissfully unaware of the deadly plot unfolding in the kitchen below. Meanwhile, one agent reaches into the industrial freezer. His gloved hand extends toward the poison pill. But something's wrong. The pill has frozen solid, stuck to the metal freezer coils. He pulls harder. The pill won't budge. On one side of the screen, a frustrated CIA agent struggles desperately with that frozen pill. On the other side, Castro continues eating ice cream, smiling, completely oblivious. The agent yanks with all his strength. The pill shatters into pieces against the metal coils. Mission failed. Castro continues his ice cream quest, completely unharmed. Somewhere in that moment, an industrial freezer became an unintentional byproduct. Ice cream literally saved Fidel Castro's life. Ancient beginnings. But this bizarre story raises a fascinating question. How did ice cream become so powerful, so universally loved, that it could accidentally foil international espionage? To answer that, we need to travel back over 2,000 years. Back to ancient Greece, around 400 BCE. In the bustling markets of Athens, vendors sold a simple mixture. Snow collected from the mountains, crushed and mixed with honey and fresh fruit. It was refreshing. It was sweet. It was basically the world's first street food dessert. Picture this scene. Athenians in flowing togas, walking through sun-drenched market stalls, purchasing cups of snow dessert from enthusiastic vendors. Ancient Athens had ice cream vendors before food trucks were even cool. But snow and honey isn't quite ice cream yet. So let's keep digging. Meanwhile, across the ancient world in China, around 1600 BCE, frozen desserts were reserved for royalty. Stories claim that King Tang of Shang had 94 men whose entire job was bringing him fresh ice daily. 94 people! That's not a royal court. That's an ice logistics company. Imagine the scene. A long line of servants, each carrying blocks of ice on their shoulders, marching toward the royal palace. Your resume would literally say, Professional Ice Carrier for His Majesty. The king used this precious ice to make an early version of Chinese ice cream, a frozen dessert called kumis. Picture the elaborate preparation. Royal servants crushing ice in ornate vessels, mixing it with milk and fruit, creating something magical for their emperor. This wasn't just dessert. This was power, luxury, status. Rome, Persia, and the Arab Revolution. Now let's journey to ancient Rome, around 64 CE. Emperor Nero took frozen desserts to an entirely new level. He would send runners to the mountains to collect fresh snow. They'd race back to the palace, where chefs would mix the snow with nectar, fruit pulp, and honey. The result? A luxurious frozen treat fit for an emperor. The Romans, like the Greeks and Chinese before them, considered iced desserts a symbol of wealth and power. But none of these were quite ice cream as we know it today. They were ancestors, prototypes, delicious experiments. The real breakthrough was still centuries away. Then came the ancient Persians, around 500 BCE. They developed something truly ingenious. Sky cooling, Here's how it worked. They built shallow, insulated pools of water in the desert. At night, these pools would radiate heat into the dry, clear sky. The water temperature would drop below the ambient air and actually freeze. They were using physics to make ice, without any modern technology. Brilliant. But the Persians didn't stop there. They took this crushed ice and mixed it with fresh fruit, creating a refreshing frozen treat called faluda. Then the Arabs looked at this Persian invention and thought, what if we made syrup from the fruit and poured it onto the ice? And just like that, sorbet was born. The word sorbet comes from sharbat, the Arabic word for a sweet drink. In fact, sharbat is also where we get the word syrup. So the next time you pour syrup on your pancakes or enjoy fruit sorbet, you're speaking a little bit of Arabic. During the Middle Ages, European travelers discovered sharbat during their journeys to the Middle East. They fell absolutely in love. They brought recipes back home and started experimenting wildly. Chocolate sorbet, rose sorbet, even pinecone sorbet. And yes, someone actually tried eggplant sorbet. Eggplant? That trend, thankfully, didn't survive history. The Italian Renaissance and colonial America. But the Italians, always obsessed with perfecting their cuisine, asked the game-changing question, what if we mix this frozen treat with cream? In 1692, a Neapolitan chef named Antonio Latini recorded what historians consider the first true ice cream recipe. Ice cream as we know it was born. Picture Renaissance Italy. Chefs in elaborate kitchens, experimenting with milk, cream, sugar, and ice. The result was revolutionary. Smooth, creamy, rich. Nothing like the icy sorbets that came before. This was something entirely new. Now let's jump forward to 1630-something England, during the reign of King Charles I. Unconfirmed stories claim he was so impressed by his ice cream maker's frozen creation that he gave the man a lifelong salary to keep the recipe a royal secret. That's right, ice cream hush money. King Charles took secret recipe to a whole new level. Imagine the scene. A chef stands before the king, presenting a bowl of creamy frozen perfection. The king takes one bite, and his eyes light up. This must remain secret, he declares. I'll pay you for life, but tell no one. For decades, ice cream remained a closely guarded royal luxury in England. But by 1718, English cookbooks were finally publishing ice cream recipes for the public. The secret was out. And when Quaker colonists from England sailed to America in the early 1700s, they brought their ice cream recipes with them. Suddenly, the New World had access to the Old World's sweetest secret. American founding fathers became obsessed. Ben Franklin, George Washington, Thomas Jefferson all became ice cream fanatics. Records show that George Washington spent about $200 on ice cream in the summer of 1790. That's about $5,000 in today's money. One summer. That's not a dessert habit, that's a financial commitment. Picture George Washington reviewing his household accounts, seeing the ice cream expenses, and just shrugging. Worth it, he probably thought. But something was about to change everything. Ice cream was still a luxury, still expensive, still difficult to make. Until two American innovators transformed the entire industry. First, the Ice King. That's what they called Frederick Tudor, a businessman from Boston. In the 1820s and 30s, Tudor pioneered something revolutionary. He figured out how to harvest ice from frozen ponds in winter, pack it in sawdust for insulation, and ship it around the world. Imagine the operation. Workers with saws cutting massive rectangular blocks from frozen ponds. Horses pulling sleds loaded with ice. Ships departing Boston Harbor, carrying thousands of tons of ice to Europe, the Caribbean, even India. Tudor built ice houses in American cities, massive warehouses where ice could be stored year-round. Suddenly, ice wasn't just a winter luxury. Ice was available, affordable, everywhere. Ice delivery men became a common sight, using tongs to carry blocks into American homes. Families could store ice in their ice boxes, keeping food fresh and making ice cream at home. Then came Nancy Johnson. In 1843, this inventor from Philadelphia patented something brilliant: a hand-cranked ice cream maker. Picture the device: a metal container inside a wooden bucket, ice and salt packed around the outside to freeze the mixture, a hand crank on top with beaters inside, churning the cream as it froze. Simple, effective, revolutionary. Before Nancy Johnson's invention, making ice cream required servants, expensive equipment, and hours of labor. After her invention, any home cook could make ice cream in their own kitchen. America was about to fall in love with ice cream, and this time it wasn't just for the wealthy. From street vendors to universal joy. By the late 1880s, a wave of Italian immigrants flooded into American cities: New York, Boston, Philadelphia, Chicago. They arrived with dreams, determination, and most importantly, the secrets of Italian gelato making. Many of these immigrants became street vendors. Picture the scene: busy American city streets in the 1890s. Italian vendors pushing colorful carts, calling out to passers-by, "Ice cream, fresh ice cream, un soldo," about a penny a lick. Children would run up with their pennies, eager for a taste of frozen happiness. For the first time in history, ice cream wasn't a luxury for the wealthy. It was street food, available to everyone. Ice cream went from royal palaces to city streets in less than a century. These Italian vendors brought more than just ice cream. They brought community, joy, a taste of home to immigrant neighborhoods. On hot summer days, their carts became gathering points. Families would cluster around, children laughing, parents chatting, everyone united by the simple pleasure of ice cream. Meanwhile, American druggists made their own discovery. Mixing soda water with ice cream created something magical: the ice cream float. Suddenly, drugstore soda fountains became the hottest social spots in America. Picture these spaces: marble counters gleaming under electric lights, teens and young adults perched on swivel stools, sipping ice cream sodas, flirting, laughing, living their best lives. The soda fountain became America's informal social club. Want to meet someone? Go to the soda fountain. Want to celebrate? Soda fountain. First date? Definitely the soda fountain. By the early 1900s, ice cream had woven itself into the fabric of American social life. It wasn't just dessert anymore. It was culture. Then, in 1920, everything changed. Prohibition. The United States government banned alcohol. Saloons across the country faced a crisis. No more beer, no more whiskey, no more profit. So they pivoted. Hard. Many saloons reinvented themselves as soda fountains. Breweries like Anheuser-Busch and Yuengling, companies that had built empires on beer, switched to making ice cream. Imagine being a brewery executive. You walk into the board meeting. "Well, gentlemen, we can't make beer anymore, so ice cream trucks?" And they did it. They actually did it. Prohibition, ironically, became the golden age of ice cream. Americans couldn't drink alcohol, so they drowned their sorrows in frozen desserts instead. By the end of World War II, another revolution arrived: home refrigeration. Suddenly, the average American family could store ice cream in their own freezer. No more ice delivery men. No more ice boxes. Just open your freezer, and there it is. But perhaps the most iconic innovation was the ice cream truck. By the 1950s, refrigerated trucks could carry freezers full of frozen treats, driving through neighborhoods, playing cheerful music. The sound of that music, even today, makes children sprint toward the street with coins clutched in their hands. The ice cream truck became a neighborhood institution, a symbol of summer, childhood, simple joy. Today, ice cream continues to evolve. New flavors, new techniques, new innovations. Liquid nitrogen ice cream made in minutes. Vegan options, sugar-free varieties, exotic flavors from around the world. But through all these changes, one thing has never changed: our love for it. Think about what ice cream represents. It's more than just frozen cream and sugar. It's a thread that connects human civilization across thousands of years. From ancient Greek market vendors to Chinese emperors with 94 ice servants. From Roman emperors to Persian physicists using sky cooling. From Arab chemists creating sorbet to Italian chefs perfecting gelato. From English royalty to American pioneers. From immigrant street vendors to modern artisan shops. Every culture that encountered frozen desserts added something new. A technique, a flavor, an innovation. Picture a ceremonial circle. All the people we've met on this journey, standing together. The ancient Greek vendor in his toga, holding a cup of snow dessert. The Chinese emperor, holding his kumis. Emperor Nero, holding his mountain snow creation. All of them arranged in a circle, facing inward, smiling at a single perfect ice cream cone in the center. That cone represents something beautiful. It represents human collaboration across time and space. It represents the way simple pleasures can unite us across cultures, languages, and centuries. This isn't just dessert. This is history, culture, connection. Children laughing, couples sharing, families gathering, all united by that simple, frozen treat. And while some mysteries may never be solved, like why anyone thought eggplant sorbet was a good idea, one thing is absolutely certain. Our love for ice cream will never thaw.
Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon so you don't miss our next video.